Damn, dude. What's going on, everyone? Back with another episode of Stuff and Things. Today I am excited for this one because if this shoots anything like the gun from last week, then we're definitely going to be in for a treat. Now, STI is obviously known for their 2011 race guns, but they have now taken all of their expertise in that field and brought it into a duty pistol, and probably one of the best looking guns that I've ever had the privilege to get my hands on. If you stuck around to the end of last week's video, then you already know what's coming. Today we are taking a look at the STI Staccato P Host. Just like every gun that STI makes, this thing was designed specifically for shooters. On the surface, it may look pretty aggressive and flashy, but everything about the Staccato P has a purpose. This is a 9mm double stack 2011 with either 17 or 20 in one capacity depending on the magazine. This is the Gen 2 Host version, which is designed to accept a Leupold Delta Point Pro, a Trijicon RMR, which I currently have mounted, and most other popular optics that use the same mounting platform. Now, if you're not a red dot fan, then you can just run the stock race sights, which are from Dawson Precision, coming with a bright green fiber in the front and a black serrated rear. The front and rear serrations are identical to those on the Staccato C, so I know I'm already a fan of those, and the black DLC coating is looking sharp as always because all black everything. Now, the P is a bit bigger, coming with a 4.15 inch bull barrel, a full-size accessory rail where I have a Surefire X300 Ultra mounted, and of course the full-size grip with STI's tree bark stippling texture. The trigger on this one comes out of the box at 4.5 pounds, but it is adjustable, and the safety selector is ambi as well. The package is complete with an oversized magwell for faster, more consistent reloads, and again, this comes with a nice carrying case holding all of the mounting accessories and everything that you need to get this set up to your liking. Now, this gun is still brand new and it hasn't been shot, even though I've had it for a few weeks, but it really has not left my side since I picked it up. This has sort of been my desk side fidget gun that sits by my computer while I edit these videos. You know, the one that you keep a snap cap in and then you shoot all of the light switches and doorknobs around your house? That has been this gun for me for a little while. I already love just about everything that this gun has to offer, so I'm hoping that I can shoot it to the best of my abilities today, because I know damn well that I am not good enough to outshoot a gun like this. Before I test this thing out, I have to give a huge thank you to my friends at Shooting Surplus again for making this video happen. If you didn't check out their site last week after the Staccato C video, what are you doing? Pause the video and go check them out. They are the ones responsible for getting both of these guns in my hand for these videos, and they have also provided the ammo. You wouldn't be seeing these videos without them. So check out all the dope stuff they have to offer, and if you see anything that catches your eye, you can use code TALENTSCI at checkout to get 5% off of any order. Now, without further ado, let's go shoot this thing, because I've been dying to since the day that I picked it up. And before we even get into the shooting, maybe you should drop a like. If this video gets enough likes, then maybe I will move on to one of their race guns after this. We'll see how it goes though. Let's go shoot. Hey guys, it's me from the future, and you're probably expecting me to be shooting right now, but I ran into an issue immediately. So I'm gonna bring you guys on this quick learning experience. I don't want this to drag out the video any longer than it needs to be. When was the last time you got a brand new firearm and you actually read the manual that came with it? I probably should have done that. It could have saved me the past 2.5 hours of messing with this thing. So if I flip all the way to page 15 of this manual here, it says, before firing your STI handgun for the first time, to assure safe, trouble-free performance beginning with the first time you fire your STI handgun, follow the cleaning and lubricating instructions on page 32 of this manual. So then you go all the way to the back and then they teach you how to clean it and lubricate it and stuff like that. I of course didn't read this thing because I'm shooting new guns all the time. Who has time to actually read those? Now, because I did not actually clean off all of the grease that comes on these guns to keep them protected, I ran into a couple issues, but then I quickly talked with Shooting Surplus and then STI directly, and I found out a pretty quick resolution. Let's check out how that process went real quick right now. right, we're not off to a good start. I'm already having 2 stovepipes now. Failure to feed. And it is not locking back either. All right, first break-in test. I got all of the oil that came with this gun off of it, and I cleaned, lubricated it myself with some CLP. I now switched out to 124 grains versus the 115 I was shooting before, and hopefully this thing will start to run after I put some of these through it. Whew. Maybe that's all it was. Got the 20 rounder here. I can definitely feel more of a punch with these 124 grain. All right, well, I think we're rolling now. I'm going to finish up this box of 124 grain quick. All right, now we're moving right back to the 115 grain. Same ammo as before. See how this does. As simple as that. So that's what the situation was. I will talk about it in detail a little bit more in a second here, but let me put another first mag through this gun now that it is clean and should be working how it is supposed to. 17 rounds, 115 grain. This is some pretty typical target ammo, some stuff that I'm shooting here all the time. Yep. And we got locked back. Now let's go talk about this thing. All right guys, now back for my first mag impression. This is really just like a quick lessons learned. What were the issues that I was having there and why was I having those issues? First and foremost, it's complete user error. As you guys know, I really don't spend a whole lot of time with STI guns. The Staccato C last weekend was the first STI review that I've ever done. And for some reason with that gun, I had great luck right from the start. I did not have any of the issues that I'm having now. So right up front, it was definitely user error. I should have actually read that user manual, but obviously I don't do that. Most people don't. So some of the issues that I was having was because of how tight the tolerances on these things are. To give you an example of the STI experience, when this thing shipped to me, it came in its nice case with the mags and everything. It came with all of the mounting and hardware accessories. And the gun itself came in a vacuum sealed bag. I actually needed to cut the bag open like it was a piece of meat in a freezer. So when these things leave the STI factory, after they're hand fit and greased up for protection, they actually seal them to keep them even more protected. Now, if I would have read that manual, I would have known that that was a big issue. For the most part, all of these like polymer guns that I've been shooting lately, pulling it out of the box brand new and shooting a mag through it and then giving you guys my first genuine first mag impression, that is something that you can do pretty easily. But when it comes to a high-end gun like this, that's obviously not the case. So for the break-in period and resolving the issues, I ran 2 mags through it until I realized what was actually going on. I talked with Shooting Surplus and STI. They kind of gave me the lowdown of what I needed to do. I simply stripped this thing down, took off all of the grease that was on here, cleaned it up. I oiled the gun up, I cleaned it again, and then I oiled it up one more time. So there is a ton of oil in this thing, and I thought the action was smooth before. Now it is even smoother than ever. This thing even feels smoother than the Staccato C to me. It could be because it is more of a full-size gun and it kind of fits me better, but so far it's feeling good. Then after that, I went from a 115 grain up to a 124 grain, packs a little bit more of a punch. I fired 50 rounds through there, no hiccups at all, and then I quickly switched back to the 115 grain, shot that, worked fine, and then you guys just saw another mag through it. So that's a quick learning experience for me. Hopefully you guys may have learned something here as well. Some of you may have known that already and you think I'm an idiot, but that's okay. I'm making these videos to entertain and inform, so hopefully you guys learned something. Alright, now I grabbed the Staccato C for a quick side-by-side comparison. You guys saw this video last week. If you haven't, you can click the link right up here in the corner and check it out. Right from the start, I obviously prefer the Host P. Even though it had those issues in the beginning, I don't think I will run into any more of those. I'm told that once you get these things running, you cannot get them to stop, and I kind of have a good feeling that that is very true. So the C is great for what it is made for, a concealed carry gun. If you're okay with the capacity and you want to carry something in this style, then sure, that's a great gun, but this is definitely more my style. I'm not gonna say that I'm going to carry something like this, although that would be pretty badass. This thing just overall fits my hand much better. The ergonomics are pretty much the same as far as like pointability goes. Like I mentioned, this was a gun that has been sitting on my desk for the past like month or so, and every time I pick it up, the sights just fall right in line. Not only are you getting a better purchase with that bigger grip, but you are getting double stack capacity as well, so 17 or 20 depending on the magazine. Now as far as the sights go, we can go back to talking about the tolerances, because this was another issue that I ran into with this gun, but it was off camera. When I picked this gun up, it came with a standard plate on here with the rear dovetail attached in the plate. I of course wanted to run an RMR because it is a Host version. I might as well take advantage of that. So I took the slide off and I got this whole thing set up, ready to take the rear sight off. There is a set screw down there. And long story short, this thing was incredibly difficult to get off. I felt like I was going to break the gun. I even went out and bought an expensive sight pusher tool, which I probably should have owned but did not. I got this thing all set up in there, and then I was cranking on it, and the rear sight just did not want to move from that stock plate. Again, this was another thing where I reached out to STI and I was like, yo, is this right? Like, I feel like I'm going to break the gun. And they're like, yeah, the tolerances are just that tight. You just have to work with it for a little bit. So I got the whole thing set up in the jig very precisely, and then I actually started cranking down on it, took a breaker bar and actually broke the sight loose that way. Luckily, I was able to get that rear sight off with just a little bit of marring on the top there. That's nothing that is not going to happen naturally anyway, so I'm not super upset about that. And then I of course installed the RMR plate, put it back in the jig, and then slid these on. Now that this is in place and that set screw is in place, this is not going anywhere. Like you keep hearing me talk about, the tolerances on this gun are just so tight and so precisely hand fit that everything is just rock solid. So for the optic, this is the RMR RM09, which is a 1 MOA dot. It is LED adjustable, so I can turn up the brightness. I will end up shooting this thing at paper to see if I need to zero it at all, but as of right now, I put it perfect co-witness right on top of that green fiber optic front post, which is super bright, by the way. So far, I like these sights and I really like this system. It's one of those things that you do not have to send your gun out to get milling done. You have the ability to put a bunch of different optics on here right from the start. Now I'll work my way through the rest of this pretty quickly so we can get back to shooting. Serrations, same as the Staccato C. As you can see, they're almost identical. You do get an extra serration on the P. Again, this is something that even when my hands are wet, I will have no problem racking that slide, especially now that it is broken in. On a gun like this that does have an optic mounted, I typically don't like to rack from that if I don't have to. You'll end up kind of getting the sight all smeary. Right now there's actually a bunch of water on there because it is kind of misting out here, but yeah, for the most part, I like to use those front serrations to put around in the chamber. Up here you got the full-size accessory rail, which is a nice touch. Like I mentioned, on the C, you could probably mount up a majority of the lights that you have. For me, this is one of my all-time favorite weapon lights, especially for a handgun, the Surefire X300 Ultra. These things are bomb-proof, and it obviously fits really well with a gun that is bomb-proof as well. Now moving down to the grip, like I mentioned, I definitely like the full size a lot better than the Staccato C. That is just me though. One thing that I'm glad that they did not do is add the same texturing as the C. This is their tree bark stippling texture. At first, to some people, this may seem a little bit too aggressive, but I can assure you that once you get used to it, it is almost the perfect pattern. If you've ever shot or checked out some of their race guns, they have a lot of crazy textures going on with them, and this is definitely one of my favorites that they offer. The controls on this are a little bit easier for me to access because of my bigger hands. The mag button doesn't seem quite as sticky on this one as it did on the C. Again, that is something that comes with that whole break-in period. Ambidextrous safety is almost identical to that on the C as well. My hand does not come anywhere near it. It is not intrusive at all. And again, this thing is like a light switch. There's no in-between. It is a super positive click on or off. And then on the bottom of the gun, of course, you have that big, almost race-inspired flared magazine well. It's obviously not quite as big as some of those massive funnels that they put put on their competition guns. But this is definitely a nice touch, and it just overall brings together the functionality and I think the aesthetics of the gun overall. When we come back, we will hit on the trigger and this bull barrel. We'll do a little bit of accuracy testing, maybe some distance testing as well. But for now, I gotta shoot this thing more. I've had nothing but delays all day today, and I'm excited to put some more rounds through it. Let's try that again, but a little bit quicker now. Damn, dude. Let's work with some distance now, back here from 30. Yep. Now 40. Yup. 50. All right, missed one. And now back here at like 75. Only would have taken my time on that first shot at 50. Damn, this thing is awesome. Now I know I've been shooting pretty quickly with this thing all day, but we still got to give it a mag dump. And this thing absolutely deserves a bonus mag. Yeah, buddy. Alright guys, back for some final thoughts on the STI Staccato P host before this storm rolls in. If it wasn't for the rain that's about to hit, I would absolutely stay out here and keep shooting this thing because it is a blast to shoot. This was one of those guns where right from the beginning, as soon as I picked it up and started kind of pointing it around, I figured that I was going to shoot it really well. The grip is fairly large, but the way it points in my hand, it just feels like a natural extension of my arm. We do have to talk about this trigger real quick. So just like the Staccato C, this whole thing is polymer from this subframe area down. The grip, the texturing that is on it, the trigger guard, and the actual trigger shoe. This is all polymer. Just because it is polymer though does not mean that it is not a great trigger, because that is exactly what this is. There is some very minimal take up back to the wall, and then you get a super crisp and clean break. And then the reset on this thing, again, very minimal travel. Tactile and audible, it's not pushing my finger off of the trigger. I'm sitting right on top of that wall again for another break. And I already think that this trigger is very good, but they also give you that ability to adjust it just like the C. There is a little set screw in the bottom of the trigger here and a hole in the face of it, so you can get a tool in there and adjust it if you need to. Since this is designed as a duty gun, I think 4.5 pounds is pretty right on the money there. If you are carrying this around, you are going to have it cocked and locked, so you could make that a little bit lighter if you wanted to, but I personally would not change a thing about it. I've shot a lot of 1911 triggers and I've shot a few STI triggers before, and I really wasn't sure what to expect with this polymer. But again, if I bring you guys in here, there is literally no play in this trigger at all. It is such a solid feeling gun, and that just goes hand in hand with those tight tolerances that I'm talking about. I've actually shot some very high-end 1911s with a metal trigger shoe, and those had more play than this, which is kind of mind-boggling to me. STI obviously knows what they're doing when they're putting these things together, and that is why the 1911 kind of saw a little bit of a hit when the 2011 was released. These guns are definitely designed for shooters and for very specific purposes. If you check out anything else in the STI line, you will see that they have things like the C for carry, or they have the P for duty carry. They have their whole line of race guns, and then they have their DVCs, the Omni. They make a bunch of different guns for a lot of different applications, and that is exactly what guns like this are for. Now, I'm not in a position where I need to carry a gun for duty purposes, not a police officer, not military law enforcement, nothing like that. But if I were to carry a bigger gun for duty purposes, previously I would have said that I would probably carry my Glock 17 that I train with a lot of the time. I have that thing in a drop leg holster and I am proficient with it. Now that I have this in my hands, I think that I would prefer something like this. Yes, it is much heavier. Yes, it is a lot more expensive, and they are still kind of designed for different purposes. But just like everything in life, some people like driving Hondas or Toyotas, and other people like driving Lamborghinis or Ferraris. You kind of get what I'm saying here. Now, to me, this gun would probably fill a role, obviously more than a duty gun, because I don't need to carry a firearm like this for any reason. This thing would be sick though in an appendix rig. A little too heavy for someone my size, but you know, this gun to me absolutely fills that kind of never-ending quest that I was on to find the perfect 1911 or even a 2011 that kind of fits me and what I like to do. You guys have seen me review quite a few 1911s on the channel, and this is it. Hands down, no questions about it. This is the mostly steel gun that I would choose. I technically can't say all steel because of the grip, but you know what I mean. Now, all of the fancy stuff going on with this gun is not going to be for everyone. Just because I can shoot it well does not mean you can shoot it well, and it does not mean that the next person will either. When STI says that the Staccato C is the world's best shooting carry gun, I don't really agree with that because it doesn't fit my hands, and obviously it's situational. They say that this is the best shooting duty gun. In my opinion, I think I might agree with that. I shoot this thing very well. It's actually a pleasure to shoot. I would bring it out to the range all the time and put a lot more rounds down with it if I could. But again, that is all just my opinion, and everyone is going to vary. Guns like this with all of the tricked out looking functionality, with the aggressive grip texture, the front serrations, the DLC coating, the extremely large magazine well, something that is ready for an optic right from the box. Nothing on this gun is going to make someone a better shooter. If I wasn't out actively shooting all the time and taking training courses, a lot of those things would not matter to me. If you hand a gun like this to a brand new shooter and you hand them, say, a Glock 19, a CZ-P07, or any other gun for that matter, just because this thing has all of the functionality and it is like a Ferrari in the gun world, it doesn't mean that they're going to shoot this better. Once you start getting more familiar with guns and you get some training, you will understand what things can be modified on a firearm that will make you shoot it more proficiently. The undercut trigger guard, the texturing, the red dot, everything on this gun helps me shoot it better. This is like a one-stop shop right out of the box. I do not have to do anything to this firearm and it is just almost perfection. I don't want to make this too long-winded, but what I'm saying is that the gun doesn't make you a better shooter. Going out, training, and practicing does. Once you do get to a certain level of proficiency though, a gun like this with some of the features will definitely help you out. Now that's all that I got for today. This was definitely a learning experience. If you are new to the STI world like I have been for the past couple of weeks now, break these things in, treat them well, and they will treat you well. Now I have to give a huge thank you to my friends at Shooting Surplus again for getting this into my hands, as well as the Staccato C. I probably would not have been able to make these videos without their support, so if you guys could go check out their site, use my code at checkout if you want to. I'm telling you, they have a ton of awesome guns just like this and the Staccato C over there. So I guarantee you if you check out their site, you will find something that you like. Now, if you have any questions on the Staccato P host, let me know in the comments down below, and I will try to answer them as best as possible. I'm going to be posting a lot of pictures of this on my Instagram, so follow me there if you want to see some of them. I apologize in advance. I just think this is one of the best looking guns that I've ever seen. So that's all that I got for today. If you guys are new to this channel, consider clicking subscribe. I make new videos every single week, and that's going to be all for today. So as always, thanks for watching, and I will talk to you in the next one.